A pendulum has to be 99.4 centimeters long to tick once a second. That number is not a choice. It is the only reason this clock is taller than you are. So the case is not furniture. It is a measurement, standing in a hallway, and in a few minutes you will be able to read it. Open it, 3 things inside. A small brass machine at the top on a shelf behind the dial. A long rod hanging down the middle, and 2 heavy weights on lines. That is the whole clock. The rod is the timekeeper. Swing it, and it comes back in the same time every time. Hang twice the weight on the end, nothing changes. Push it twice as hard, nothing changes, only length matters. Which hands the clockmaker a number he cannot argue with. Ask for 1 second a swing, and the length comes out at 99.4 centimeters. The trunk is a meter of empty air, built to hold it. There is a catch. Length is all that matters only while the swing stays small. Let it swing wide and every trip takes a little longer, so the clock runs slow. Which gives the machine at the top one hard rule: barely touch this rod. Left alone, the rod stops. Air drags on it, and inside an hour it hangs still. But the losses are tiny, so the push it needs is tiny too: 4 kilograms of weight, falling 1.5 meters over 7 days. 1 AA battery would run it for 4 years. Except a falling weight knows nothing about weeks. Tie it straight to the gears and it just falls, 1.5 meters in under a second, the hands spinning into a blur. The week has to be handed out in pieces. It happens at the very top in 2 parts. A wheel with 30 pointed teeth, pushed round by the weight, always trying to run. And above it, a curved steel piece shaped like a ship's anchor, a flat pad at each tip. The anchor rocks with the pendulum because a fork on its shaft grips the rod. Swing left, the left pad lifts clear, 1 tooth escapes, the wheel jumps. Half a tooth later, the right pad drops in front of the next tooth and stops it dead. And here is what makes the clock possible. Each pad is sloped, so the escaping tooth slides across it and shoves it as it goes. That shove runs down the fork and into the rod. The steel that stops the wheel is the steel keeping the pendulum alive. It hands you the dial for free. Every swing lets the wheel forward by half a tooth. 60 swings, 30 teeth, 1 full turn, and 1 turn is exactly a minute. Put a hand on that shaft and you have a second hand. Now watch a real one closely, because something strange happens every second. The pendulum does not stop when the pad lands. It keeps going and shoves the wheel backwards. Gears, cables, 4 kilograms of weight running in reverse. Watch the second hand, forward, then a flick back. This is where the genius hides. Older clocks needed the pendulum to swing 80 or 90 degrees. An enormous arc, far outside the small swing rule, and they lost about 15 minutes a day. The anchor cut that arc to 4 degrees. Same pendulum, 15 seconds a day. 4 degrees on a rod 1 meter long moves the bob about 7 centimeters. 7. That is the whole reason this case is a narrow column and not a wide box. The shape of the furniture is the shape of the invention. One thing still beats it: the weather. The rod is steel, and steel stretches as it warms, so a warm room costs the clock about half a second a day for every degree. Harrison's answer was a rod built from 2 metals fighting each other, brass pushing the bob up exactly as fast as steel lets it down. So once through, the weight pulls, the gears turn, the escape wheel leans on a pad, the pad shoves the pendulum. The pendulum swings back and frees the next tooth, and the wheel counting those teeth carries the hands. 99.4 centimeters of pendulum, a week of falling weight, and 1 piece of steel that stops and pushes at the same time. The height was never decoration. It is not a cabinet with a clock in it. It is a number in wood. Subscribe, and I will keep taking ordinary things apart.